thank you all for watching and perhaps listening to Calling the Audible. I was just counted in by the sensual fingers of the eagle at Master Control. He turns our knobs. He makes it look wonderful.
Claws, really.
Yeah.
They're little nubs.
What are claw fingers called? Claw fingers. The wonderful claw fingers.
What do they call your fingers? Talent.
Talent is pretty good. The claw fingers. You can tweet him at Eagle.
Master.
You can tweet him at EagleFPF if you want to participate in the show. Remember to hashtag clawfingers. I'm joined in studio. I'm joined in studio with our producer at Mocon19, Mocon himself. To my right, I have my co-host, the wonderful, the charming, the newly haircutted GM Colethris. You can follow him, of course, at GM Cole44.
No haircut.
It's been about 2 weeks.
Yeah, no haircut.
Your hair just doesn't grow then.
My mom actually says that I get a haircut more often than a shave, which is very accurate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So another interesting week in the division, GM.
The Premier Division.
Sorry,
the Premier
Division. Absolutely. The season in, season out is the season with the most amount of teams, the most storylines. It's been interesting. It's been great so far. What are your thoughts so far about the division?
I'm really happy. We're starting to see fewer standout teams. They're starting to even themselves out a little bit. There's teams that are stepping up, really becoming more noteworthy than they were preseason when we were thinking about them. It's going to be interesting, especially around week 9, week 10 when it's playoff race.
Absolutely. And speaking of teams not separating themselves, not stepping up, Show Me Your TDs taking a loss at the hands of Part of My Swag.
We know your team lost because we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's the only time you'll ever hear us talking about our teams, usually, is when we win. Eagles making some obscene gestures, of course, but we're staying focused. Unlike Show Me Your TDs did, SMY TDs taking a loss 24-19. A late pick six by Patrick Pilot from PMS really turned the tide in this game. That's not a question.
This is the part. Yeah, this is the part where you ask me a question.
So here, I'll ask it. I'll phrase it this way: Show Me Your TDs, now 1 and 2, have not played the toughest schedule. What can we attribute the struggles to in this game? We can say, point to the
Are Show Me Your TDs 1 and 2 or 2 and 1?
1 and 2.
Interesting. I feel like this is partly due to the fact that Brad Evans brings in these guys. They're strong guys. They all get along together. John Grizzly is one of them.
He's not on that. He's not on the team this season.
No, exactly. This is where I'm leading up to.
Okay.
He has them for a season. They play well together, and then the roster with the cap at hand outgrows this team. They can no longer put this team back in. They had Jonathan Petard as well, John Grizzly, really players that were premier receivers and premier defenders in that division, and he was unable to re-register them back on the team without moving to C. And we see right now, with the roster at hand, how they're struggling in D.
No, but I was saying, Show Me Your TDs at 1 and 2.
Show Me Your TDs
PM,
at 1 and 2. That's
why I
asked.
is 2 and 1.
It's 2 and 1, yeah.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
That's why I asked. PM.
So, Show Me Your TDs at 1 and 2. Yes. What can you attribute the struggles to? Now we know what you think the issue with PMS is.
Yes. I think that the struggle with Show Me Your TDs right now largely generates around their center. It's a bit of a negative influence, very poisonous to team morale. In all honesty, for those of you who don't know that Pease plays center for Show Me Your TDs, I think it's just growing pains right now. You see, compared to last year, the roster is shuffled in a little bit. It's not the same guys. You have a few familiar faces in the core. You have Anthony Adana, Mike Adana, obviously, because he's the quarterback, Alex David, yourself being familiar with this core, but for the most part, you don't have Haney as that safety outlet anymore and playing safety. It's not exactly the same, and I think it's just going to take him a little bit of time, despite the talent of the Villaforte brothers, of this core of the roster. It's just going to take Mike Adana a little bit of time to get more comfortable.
On the other side, we saw Brad Evans playing quarterback. Kind of similar, but just with better execution in this game. But can PMS, with their slow, methodical offense, work late in the season and in the playoffs?
It's happened before. There's teams in the past, especially in spring seasons, where you see that teams are a little bit more shuffled up. Mo will remember this team, the Mustangs, way back when.
Oh, yeah.
The Mustangs were a team that really slowed down the pace of the game. They played milk the clock. Like, every play was down to the 10-second mark before the ball was snapped. They slowed the pace down to a crawl, and use that to their advantage to frustrate teams and really march up the field.
Yeah,
so it is doable.
My worry though is just it seems like in the playoffs, it almost doesn't matter what division. You need to score a minimum of 5 times to win in the playoffs. My worry is if you only give yourself 5 or 6 possessions. This game was slow. The first half in this game, there was 2 possessions for Pardon My Swag, 1 possession for Show Me Your TDs in the entire first half. So these are 2 teams that move slowly, and I worry about teams like this later in the season and in the playoffs as well.
It's fine so long as you're converting on every 4th down, you're scoring on every possession, and you're not turning over the ball. The second you turn over the ball when you have a slow, methodical offense like that, the game's over. Because right then, you have to come back from behind and try and score and come up. And when it's not something that you're familiar with or necessarily strong with, it's very, very difficult.
Although food for thought here, Mike Adana, the quarterback for Show Me Your TDs, has 5 INTs this year. He's on pace to have over 20 INTs thrown this year, which would be his highest in his career, which is unheard of because the highest he's had previous to that, 14, when he had that last season.
In Div E?
No, that was in Div 4 last season. No, but agreed. Yeah, that's something definitely to watch out for. A team to watch out for, however, Global Gym Purple Cobras, 3.5 dans perhaps, or 2.5 dans AA version. Sorry? It's true, with Danny McPhee
with the
as
headset
coach
on the sidelines, it's amazing.
It's pretty good. I do like it. They beat the Diablos 20-19 in this game. So far, GGPC's defense has been great, but having scored an average of 23.3 points a game so far, do you think, what can they improve to become more explosive?
It's all on the shoulders of Eric Myrina right now. Just needs to get more comfortable with the position, make the reads, really plant his foot, and be confident. You're seeing his struggles. He tends to rush throws a little bit, not be as confident as, say, Joey Taylor is in the senior version of this team, 2.5 dans. I think with that influence in the huddle, he just needs to learn this position a little bit more. They know where they all have to be. They rotate well, considering they're a roster of 8 who consistently know when their shift is, who comes in on defense, who comes in on offense. They play well together. It's just a matter of time. I've been really high on this team preseason. I think they're going to do well. They're going to do damage as the season unfolds.
Agreed. Danny Aylward had 3 interceptions this game for Global Gym. But to me, the highlight was Joey Taylor's insane interception in his own end zone. GM, you were there, scorekeeping this game, I believe. I saw that play, and it's something that I've been noticing as seasons have continued. When you see Joey Taylor, you don't necessarily think of him as a great athlete, but he continues to make great plays in higher divisions as a quarterback, and now as a receiver, NDB, he's really, really coming into his own.
Yeah, if there were swag points given out for players in FPF, he would be overdrawn. Like, it's the shorts on top of the track pants, the kind of lackadaisical attitude. He doesn't look like an athlete, but at the same time, he makes top-notch plays. He's very aware of the field around him. He knows where the ball is going to be. He anticipates. I think that's the appeal of playing receiver and DB as a quarterback in a lower division. You know how other QBs read the field and look at the field and can use that to your advantage.
That's fair. The Diablos not adjust in the second half. They only scored 6 points. What do you think the issue is here?
It's interesting because they did adjust previously when they played Pardon My Swag. Pardon My Swag were up, and they adjusted on them and came out with the win. I think it comes down to they were just ill-equipped to face a team of this caliber. They had a quick rush on the quarterback. Aside from having Louis Bégin as his deep threat,
Louis begin, so to speak.
It began to get tiresome.
Nice.
And there was nothing in the mid zone, and I think that's where a lot of this came from. Where those 3 interceptions came from Danny Aylward, 1 from Joey Taylor as well. It was consistently forcing a pass that wasn't there anymore. It was a window that was open throughout the first half. They attacked it and figured, hey, this worked for us. Let's keep doing it. But it wasn't the case anymore.
That's fair. In the final game that we want to break down tonight, Les Affreux beat Crimson Tide 31-25. Jules Lemieux has already thrown 6 interceptions. Does he need to step up for Les Affreux to finally look like the dominant team they should be in this division?
Once again, I think it's going to be time. This is a quarterback who hasn't played in the league in, 2 years? A year and a half?
About a year and a half,
since he's been in Seattle. Very, very good quarterback. Understands the game really well. He's always entertaining to watch as well, because when he takes off on a run, he's very speedy, but he takes these little steps. It's really, really interesting to watch.
It's the quickest 40 steps you'll ever see between when he gets the ball to the line of scrimmage. Yeah, absolutely. Now, coming into the season, we both thought that Crimson Tide would be a great team this season. We both put them in my official power rankings and in our unofficial
and
Facebook
your consultants.
And in our, as you as my consultant, you put them in Crimson Tide in the power rankings as well. Why isn't this working?
They are a very good team from top to bottom. The only real issue right now is, as good as these players are, you still have to get them the ball. The passes still need to be accurate, and that's something right now that Chris Pinsonneau is lacking a little bit. At the same time, through this game between Les Affreux and Crimson Tide, there was a point in the first half where it was deep bomb picked one way, deep bomb picked the other way, deep bomb. It was just consistent interceptions on deep passes, and it was Joe Lemieux who was the first to adapt. I think Chris Pinsonneau is still green in this position right now, learning it even more than someone like Eric Maiorino, who has that support system around him. Chris Pinsonneau has Doug McKernan at the helm as well, who can give him that feedback and those ideas, but at the end of the day, he needs to be more comfortable behind center, and we're not seeing that as of yet.
I agree, and their first game, they lost the 5-star prospects with a new quarterback. They lost the Hot Boys hotline in a disgusting, ugly game that I wish I could unsee. And they lost to Les Affreux in a close contest, but yet again could not close it out when it counted. Throwing a lot of interceptions, just playing a sloppy game. Do you think that they are playing sort of down to the competition? So even when good teams like Les Affreux aren't playing well, they don't play well. When they play against a team who's not as strong, let's say a team that doesn't score a lot of points, like Hot Boys hotline, they don't score a lot of points.
We were discussing earlier teams that milk the clock really very much like Pardon My Swag style, where they tend to slow down the pace of the game. I think this is a team that would absolutely benefit from that, considering all the weapons they have on defense and the ability to turn the ball over like that. So long as they're converting on those 3rd downs and 4th downs and Chris Pinsonneau isn't throwing interceptions, you know your defense is going to come up big for this team.
By the way, the Crimson Tide's 3 losses have been by 6 points or less. They've lost by a combined total of 15 points through 3 games.
Absolutely. And
Terry Tam chirping in 4 losses next week.
He's very confident that Harry Tam. He looks like the grown-up Pebbles from the Flintstones. Is what I think. Not bad, right?
Terry Tam this season is undefeated against staff members, but that's because he hasn't played either of us.
That's fair. Off camera,
sorry, Eagle.
GM, off camera, we have our better halves discussing things. And there's no way either of us can win in that situation. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the winless teams in this division.
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
The sensuous eagle claw hands, fingers, counting us back in the talons, counting us back in.
Mo has his wingspan spread
from side to side,
left to right, side to side.
Yeah, from sea to sea, from landline to landline. I am joined in studio in the Sportira cage, because of course, if it's in the game, it's in the cage, by GM Colethris. You can of course follow him at GM Cole44, and if you would have followed him here, you would have seen this place vibrant today. There's a huge party going on, lots of people kicking around the soccer ball. It's given us a great ambience. So
my focus is absolutely shot right
now. But don't worry, because our focus is never great to begin with. And honestly, if you were here, you just see it's just a great atmosphere. If you haven't gotten your jersey yet, remember you can get it from Sportira. It's a little late, but never too late to order a second kit for future season, or put in your order for the winter season. And on a side note, if you do like cage soccer, this is the place to be. Or cage basketball. The Eagle at Master Control is reminding me of all the things I'm forgetting, of course, and he is throwing punches with his tiny hands.
Or cage football.
Cage football sounds very dangerous, Mokan, but I do like where your head's at. Of course, if you want to tweet him about your thoughts on cage football or smashketball, you can follow him at Mokan19.
Or Hell in a Cell.
Speaking of Hell in a Cell, teams find themselves in hell. 0-3. In the NFL, there's this stat where, like, if you go 0-3, like 8% of teams have made.
It's a death.
Yeah, it's basically. How much is that the truth in FPF these days when you consider you only play 10 games and the divisions are as large as they are?
The hardest part about that is often week 1's game is a divisional game, and towards week 9, week 10, you need to count up those divisional games for playoff eligibility because those are the key wins. That being said, there have been teams that have made it with very poor records, including starting 0-3. There's teams that have made the finals with starting off 0-3.
Jagerbomb last season.
Jagerbomb last season. We look at
Love Cows.
Love Cows in one of your seasons. Moose, one of my teams, made the playoffs with a 4-6 record. Thank you, math. Remember, hashtag math.
It's up for grabs right now. I think with as much talent and evenly dispersed as it is in Division D, considering the tight cap restriction, there's a lot of promise for upsets.
Absolutely. The Crimson Tide, we just talked about them a little bit, but just to go in a little more depth, does this surprise you, seeing them at 0-3?
Very much so. We saw that, yes, it's very different being the halfback throwing converts and the odd pass here or there, but we saw Chris Pansino on the Shamrocks be the number 2 to Doug McKernan's number 1 and excel at that. Now that he's taken over the helm, we see a little bit of a struggle. So yes, I think of the bulk of these teams, especially considering we put them in our top 10, they're the team that surprises me most.
And for me, like you kind of touched on this before the break, I think that right now it's almost like, and I could be completely wrong, but it feels like Chris Pansino is running Doug McKernan's offense, and Doug is an incredible FPF quarterback. I've said I've never seen a guy who's built to play this game more than Doug McKernan, but Pansino needs to find himself, I think, and he throws a nice ball. He just needs to call the plays, I think, that fit his style. Kind of to your point, what you were saying before the break. So I agree with you there. DG Goons. This is a team that surprised both of us, I think, because we both thought they'd be one of the stronger teams. They're having issues on both sides of the ball.
Personnel issues as well, though. We see a little bit of a shuffling of rosters between last season and this season.
Yeah, I agree. But to me, I again, maybe play calling is the theme of the week, but when I look at quarterback Chris Pendenza, I see a guy who just chucks the ball deep a lot, and there's no need for it. Like we played against him with Show Me Your TDs, and like after we scored early, his answer was to chuck it deep constantly. And so that's not a recipe for success in FPF. Drive the field and take your shots when they're there. Les Aigles, they're a porous defense. They're a new team. GM, give them a hand. Tell them what they got to do to fix the defense.
Game of the weeks are absolutely your best friend right now. Watch what works for some teams and what doesn't for other teams. Show up early to the field. Watch games unfolding. See how different teams call their plays, how they call their defense, how they line up, and talk, ask. If you see someone on the sidelines, chat them up, see what you can learn from them as well. It's a very welcoming community. There's a lot that can be said about our core of players within this league.
Absolutely, and I know for myself, the way I learned and moved up through divisions is getting to know guys like UGM. Eagle was a huge help to me in the early season.
Gianfranco Ronaldo.
Mocon as well. Gianfranco Ronaldo. A lot of the FPF family, like, we're willing to share our knowledge. We love talking about this stuff. So you see any of the staff members, Terry Tam to a lesser extent, he's just a mean guy overall.
This reference gets more and more dated as I say it every season, but Chalk Talk with Mocon used to be fantastic.
I don't know those words.
If you can even find it now, you're a step up of most people. But then again, it was very helpful. Mocon, Adi Sharma, talking about different offensive structures, different defensive structures, how they worked in FPF. Granted, it's FPF 4 or 5 years ago, where the schemes were a little bit different, but still relevant, and especially in the four down football. We did.
Junkyard Dogs. Is this a regression, seeing them struggling so much?
Very much so. I think that watching them play, watching how they unfold, Jason Rossi is starting to get a little bit more. He's getting more frustrated faster.
Yeah.
When things didn't go his way in past seasons, it would take a little bit of a build-up. He would get frustrated at his guys, but make plays out of it. Now it seems like the patience level is 0. Instead of going from 0 to 100, he's started at 90, and the slightest thing sets him off. So I think he needs to be a little bit more patient with his guys, considering the roster changes, and work from there.
And we also have the Blue Devils at 0-3. Is Gianfranco Ronaldo enough?
I think this was a team that could have registered in E, considering
Well,
their lack of
Gianfranco couldn't throw any.
considering their lack of depth and experience. It's very difficult, despite the fact that they have a quarterback who has that experience. Aside from that, in this case, the quarterback isn't enough. We've mentioned before that it's one of the most important positions in FPF, but you still need a cast who can make those plays and catch the ball.
The one I think that can make the plays, and I'm very interested to see how she develops. That's why she develops, is Audrey Desjardins. Honestly, I'm excited to see how she turns out to be a player. So far, last game, not last game, but week 2, catching 1 pass for 25 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, she's got what it takes. So I want to introduce a segment, GM. I'm no longer going to ask for your final thoughts, but we're going out of bounds. I'm going to ask you some questions from my article where basically, I always made up some of these themes that we would talk about on the podcast. Now we're going to actually talk about them.
It's better because you asked me final thoughts, and I have no final thoughts because there's no thoughts going on in here.
Exactly.
So if you
let's capitalize on your lack of thoughts.
Exactly. You give me a segment, I will run with it.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, let's start with the health benefits of artichokes.
I love artichokes. You can boil them. You can eat them raw. I used to eat them a lot as a kid. Very, very tasty.
Put them on pizza. Really good on pizza.
What about the Jerusalem artichoke, Connor? Have you had that?
Never.
It's a bit like a potato. It's actually quite good.
Eagle has a game changer here, dipping them in balsamic.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. I've been drinking it in like hot water, like a tea. Apparently, it's supposed to be good for my stomach, is what I've heard. What colors are empirically better?
I think really, really welcoming colors, cool colors like blue, green. They're soft on the eyes. They're easy to look at. Those would be my bets rather than something that's harsh like a red or a yellow or an orange. It's really fiery.
Mokan, are you an earth tone guy?
I'm into the purple. I like
Mo's a pastel.
Yeah, I'm a Miami Vice. Yeah.
I can see you as a Miami Vice character.
You see my, I'll take a picture of my wardrobe.
Are Mo and I Crockett and Tubbs?
Absolutely. I actually personally hate you. Well, gray is the only color that's worthwhile because I'm colorblind.
And the best part about that is that you're the one who quotes a color that's not a color.
Absolutely. Jim, how do you deal with convoluted plans set by other people, perhaps even friends of friends?
Okay, so I know my friends of friends aren't really going to be listening to this, so
awesome.
Here's where it's going to work out really well. You need to be really slow to reply to text messages. Like when the plan sets out, you wait a little while, interject a little bit, say, oh, do we really want to do this? Well, the plan's already been made. We talked about this. You're late to the game. Then they come up with a meeting point, wait a little bit more time. Wait, where are we meeting again? Oh, but that's it. And when they've all gathered there, say, oh, it seems kind of far, or what if we do something? If you propose something else when everyone else is already doing something, they're less likely to want to do it and less likely to want to include you at all because you're trying to change the plan.
Mo, how would you propose to GM?
How would he... Can we get a recap?
We're doing this. Shut your mouth, and we're going.
I like it. Mokan, wearing the pants. I like it. Speaking of wearing the pants, this week I'm going for 1. I just want to remind everyone it is game of the week for our division, our wonderful division, Division D. Make sure to get out there and vote. There's some really great games out there.
Don't vote for my team.
I say you should absolutely vote for Jim Calathris. That being said...
No, you need to say that into the mic. Okay, to quote Terry, he said, vote for GM, watch him run. It's funny. It
is pretty funny. Honestly, it's just been, it's a great experience if you get the chance. I've been on Game of the Week. It's kind of fun.
It's the kiss of death. I think I'm like 1-4.
If you lose, it is also the worst experience ever. I'm 1-0 in Game of the Week. Oh no, I'm 1-1. The loss was terrible. Thank you, GM, for all the work you've done today. Eagle, thank you for all the great work. You've done a great job with all the upgrades so far. Terry Tam, thank you for dancing in the background, dude. You got some moves. I didn't expect that. Mokan.
Big news, the pennies are washed for this week.
Yeah, there it is. So remember, if you need to wear pennies, it won't suck as normally as...
I invested in double-sided jersey, so I'm not worried about that.
Absolutely. And of course, I want to thank you all for letting me be myself.
Thank you for letting me be myself.